Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition or episode of Simply Spooky. Now, I'm happy to see that there are two people that are already online and watching. All three now, wonderful. So, if you could, just one of you could just, or even all of you. Oh, there you go. You've done it for me. You beat me to. Oh no, it's you, Viv. You did it. If one of you guys can just put a thumbs up in the chat, that'd be great, please. Then we'd know that we're reaching you loud and clear. That'd be fantastic. Thank you, Lois. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So this evening, we've got Richard Hassler from the United States. Now, Richard Hassler is quite an amazing guy, really, because he's a bounty hunter. So we want to really get into questions about what he does for a living, and you know, maybe hopefully some of the cases that he's attended, and some of the people, you know, some of the people that have absconded. Obviously, he can't give us names. And also, he's an alien abductee, so we're going to get into talking about that as well this evening. And yeah, we're going to go from there. So, Richard, welcome, and thank you ever so much for coming on this evening. It's really, really kind of you. We do appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. I'm very excited about it.
Thank you. How are you, Viv?
I'm fine, just hot and sweaty. I've had rain all day, but it's been really muggy here, so I've been hot and sweaty and irritable, but can't go out or do anything. So it's been one of those days.
That's why you're irritable, isn't it? Because you can't get out. Right. Okay. So, Richard, if you could just give us a little synopsis, a little idea of what you do for a living, that would be wonderful. If that's okay, please.
Okay, so when people get charged with a crime over here, a lot of times the judge will ask for a bail amount to let people out of jail while they're waiting for trial for their crime. So what we do as bail bondsmen is we charge them 10% of whatever the judge asks for, and then the bondsman is kind of an insurance to the court. So we bail that person out of jail. They have a court date. So if they don't show up for court, the court will then ask the bondsman to pay the entire amount of the bond. So in order to not have to pay that amount to the bond, we have that amount of the bond, we have to go out and find the people that have missed court, arrest them, and take them back to jail within a certain period of time, or the bondsman is out sometimes quite a bit of money.
Excellent, thank you. Now, when I always think about bounty hunters and things like that, obviously I think of the Old West and things like Lee Van Cleef with a fistful of dollars and stuff like that.
Right.
Has it changed much since? I mean, like the rules and regulations that you've got, have they become much tighter since those days, or were there no regulations then?
Back in the day, you know, it was dead or alive, you know, and then sometimes I still get people on my Facebook page going, "Hey, do you still get paid if the person's dead?" You know, I try not to. I'm like, come on, guys, we can't do that anymore. But regulations are getting a little tougher as you know, as things progress, especially with the protests and things like that we have over here quite a bit because of, you know, police brutality protests and things.
Yeah.
Generally, that's not something that we get involved in. We don't, you know, I personally don't know of, you know, bail bondsmen ever shooting anybody or anything like that. But we have to be licensed. We have to go through background checks, and we have a certain amount of training that we do. And I know there are some states where literally you don't need training, you know. So it's, you know, you have a bail bondsman that says, "Here, go catch this person," which, you know, blows me away. So, but
wow,
we do quite a bit of training, but probably not as much as we should, though. But we still do.
That is the old days, isn't it? Just go and get somebody and bring them in.
Right.
So I'm guessing that you have to have a good working relationship with the police and other government bodies that you work alongside.
Well, I got to be honest, like there are, you know, different counties that we work in, because I work in, you know, pretty much wherever, you know, somebody's at. So some police departments are very welcoming and helpful. Other police departments will just basically say, you know, "Hey, you're on your own, you know, good, you know, do what you do." So
now I know that it must be a dangerous job, and just to give some people some sort of outline or idea of how dangerous it is, I'm hoping you can talk about it. If you can't, then don't. It's absolutely fine. But you were recently on TV, weren't you, over the last couple of days?
Yeah, yesterday. Yes.
And are you allowed to talk about that? Or obviously
Yeah.
no names or anything, but are you
Oh,
allowed to?
absolutely. Yeah. So we were looking for a fugitive at a hotel up in Lakewood, Washington, and we had an informant that told us our fugitive was, in a certain room. We went to that room, knocked on the door. A guy answered the door. It wasn't who we were looking for. We went in to search to see if our fugitive was in there, and we found a child, 2 years old, in this room with his parents. That child was laying probably 1.5 feet away from meth, heroin, and fentanyl. There was printers where they were printing fake money. They had stolen credit cards, other people's IDs, all sorts of stuff. So we called that into the police, and the police came out and didn't arrest the people, which blows my mind, but they did take the child away from the parents. And the next thing I knew, I spent all day yesterday taking calls from the news, because apparently the news was listening to the police scanner and showed up. And yeah, they called me all day yesterday. So
is that legal? Police scanners or like listening in on police conversation, or is it?
Yeah, it is. It's legal. There are some police departments that have switched over to like digital, where it's coded and you have to have, certain scanners that will pick it up. But for the most part, because it can be dangerous. If I've gone after many criminals that when I've picked them up have, you can get a police scanner app on your cell phone. And funny thing, and so they'll know the police are coming, so they'll hear it. And, thankfully, we don't generally talk to the police about coming, so there's never any police scanner or radio. We call it into 911 dispatch to let them know, hey, this is where we're working, but we always tell them, please don't put it out over the radio.
Right.
By doing that, it keeps them from knowing that we're coming.
Yeah, you beat me to the punch there. That's what I was going to ask. Right. Do you have to notify the police when you move across into a state to sort of apprehend a criminal?
It's always best to call it in wherever you're at, to let them know that you're in the area and you're working, because what happens is people don't always tell the truth. And so when you're trying to get into, a home or somewhere where a fugitive is at, a lot of people call 911 and say, hey, there's people here all, with guns trying to break into my house. And, I don't want the cops showing up to shoot me. So I want them to know exactly who I am and what I'm doing there.
Yeah. Give them a heads up, always the best way.
Right.
So how long have you been doing it now? Have you been doing it for quite a while, or?
It'll be 5 years next month.
Oh, it's a fair while then.
Yeah.
And what have you? I bet you've gone after some really nasty individuals, haven't you, over the years?
We've picked up people anywhere from, murder to, driving charges. So, driving while license suspended. So, and I got to be honest with you, it's always the people with the lesser crimes that always fight the hardest about going to jail.
Is it really?
It truly is. Like, it's unreal. I've got a girl that we're looking for right now on driving while suspended charges, and the jail's not even going to take her into the jail, but we have to pay the bondsman's got to pay the bond if we don't get her there. I've talked to her over and over and over again, and she's just hiding out. And it's one of those things, like, I'd pick her up, drive her to the jail. They would say, nope, we don't want her, sign my paperwork, and we're done. It's that fast, and she just won't do it. And, she sent me messages telling me, when I find her, we're gonna fight about it, type of thing.
Really?
Like, yeah, I was like, what? Why are we fighting? So it's,
some people make their lives harder than needs be, don't they?
It's drugs, is what it is. It's really, drugs.
I was going to say, do they? I mean, obviously, they offer care to people that are like rehabilitation care to people that are sort of drug addicts and what have you. But what's the sort of quota of them taking it? Do a lot of them not want it, or?
Well, see, the problem is getting it. Getting into a rehab facility over here isn't easy to do. Years and years ago, I had an ex-girlfriend that she got into drugs after her and I had split up, and I ran into her a few years after, and she had a drug problem. I spent almost a week trying to help her get into a drug rehab program, but she didn't have insurance. And without insurance, they're not going to take you. Basically, what we were told was, unless it's court ordered, we can't take her without insurance because nobody's going to pay for that. And so they basically said, well, go out and get arrested. You know, so it's very difficult to, you know, over here, you know, we don't have, you know, health insurance. We pay insane amount of money for doctor bills, and you know, we have to pay for our health insurance, and you know, it's not cheap. It's not cheap at all. I pay $370 a month for my health insurance.
Wow.
And that's nothing. You know, my mother, hers is over $800, and she's, you know, and it's like a $5,000 deductible. So she's got to pay $5,000 before anybody would even, before the insurance pays anything. So it's
not worth going to hospital with minor injuries then, is it? I guess it's just a case of just getting over it the best way you can without seeing a doctor.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, not to get too political or anything, but, you know, our current president is trying to work on healthcare. So, but it seems like, you know, what'll happen is one president will, you know, like when Obama was in office, they did the whole healthcare thing, and then Trump spent his 4 years trying to get rid of it because, you know, Obama did it, you know. So it's ridiculous. So
that's the thing, isn't it? We have the same over here. You get one government in, they bring some good policies in, then the next lot come in, and all of a sudden they undo the goodness.
Yes.
And it sets you back. But yeah, I know where you're coming from. So when you turn up on, I'm guessing a lot of these fugitives would hide out with family, or you have to go to family homes to see if they're sort of there. Do you end up in arguments with the family as well? Is it a free for all, or?
Oh yeah, all the time. In fact, just last week we were looking for a guy, and we were doing surveillance on the guy's mom's house because that's where we heard he was. And we watched him walk out of his mom's house and into the shed. He smoked some weed. We watched him. He turned around and went back into mom's house. So then we surrounded the house, knocked on the door, and mom was, well, he's not here. It's like, well, we just watched him walk in. And, you know, I don't want to be, you know, it's mom, you know, I don't want to like kick in her door or anything like that. So we tried to talk our way in, but she continued to lie to us. Next thing we know, our fugitive's 2 adult sons and brothers show up. And then it was, you know, hey, you do anything, we're going to do this type of thing. And we spent well over an hour trying to talk him out. And mom at one point was like, oh, hey, I got to go to church. And she leaves to go to church on a Saturday. You know, we're like, you know, hey, church is tomorrow, but, you know, hey. So we waited a little while, and then eventually we kicked in the back door and went up and upstairs, had to break in the door upstairs to get to him. And the family, I broke in the back door, or the family was thinking we were going to go in the front door. And so I had the guy in custody before the family realized that we were in the house. And then it was all about getting out in the car, and they did quite a bit of damage to my vehicle as we were driving away.
Really?
They just beat the heck out of my vehicle.
Was that your own car, or was it the?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we drive our own vehicles. Thankfully, the bondsman's the bondsman will pay for that and then charge. Yeah. We did call the police and file a police report. I mean, it's a little over $3,000 worth of damage that they did.
So we've got a question here, Richard, if it's okay. Do you carry mace, and have you tried it? And how bad is it? I
do. I actually, the spray cans of mace are a little dangerous because, we spray it. If I spray it, everybody gets it. That's not my favorite. What I carry is a thing called JPX, and it is a pepper spray projector. It shoots pepper spray at 405 miles per hour.
Wow.
And so it's one of those things, and it's 400,000 Scoville heating units, which is about twice as hot as what your local law enforcement stuff will use. In fact, I used it on that guy's kids as they were, beating my car. It does the job. It very well does. And there's a lot less cross-contamination with that because it shoots so fast, and, it's not a ball, it's an actual liquid. And so it shoots out so fast that once you shoot it, if you wait, 5 seconds or so, and then you go in, you're not going to get it. So it's a lot better than just your like spray cans or whatnot.
You know, my eyes are watering just thinking about that, just thinking about
Yeah.
the heat level of that. Wow.
Yeah, because it knows I'm going to spray some on you. Try it out, Dan.
In fact, I'm an instructor for them as well, so I teach that class. So I have tasted it myself. It sucks, but you know, the cool thing about it is, you shoot somebody in the face with it, they believe they're gonna die. I mean, they think they can't breathe, they can't see, everything burns, but you know, an hour later they're fine, and you know, nobody's hurt, everybody is safe.
Wow.
And you know, that's in fact, I stopped carrying a taser because that it works so well. And you know, with the taser, if I wear a big hoodie, it may or may not work. So
yeah, that does sound like it sucks. So now what I'm going to do, if it's all right by you, Richard, I'm going to bring you on to the alien abduction and what you can tell us about that.
So I was probably 10. We lived in an old haunted house, and so that was more of what we were scared about most nights. But I have a twin brother, and he woke us up in the middle of the night, and he was like, "Hey, I saw a UFO." And he was, you know, really scared about it. You know, my parents were just like, you know, you're a kid, go back to sleep. You didn't see nothing. We lived not too far from a military base, so it was common for them to fly helicopters at night and do the whole war game thing where they'd shoot the flares in the sky. Yeah, and that's really what my parents thought it was. But my brother was adamant, like, no, it was a UFO. I saw it. It landed out by the barn. And so, you know, I'm then scared, you know, laying in my bed. And it was a very old house we grew up, and it had only a wood stove for heat. And so at night we would keep our bedroom doors open so that the heat from the wood stove would get into the bedrooms. And so I was laying there, and you know, scared, of course, you know, being a kid, thinking my brother just saw this, you know, UFO.
Yeah, of course.
And then I thought I had heard something by the door, and then I saw like a hand grab the doorway and a head poke around the corner, and it looked just like, you know, like you see on TV, the big gray alien.
The alien greys with the big black eyes and the tiny nose and mouth.
And I couldn't respond. I tried to yell, I couldn't, and literally that's the last thing I remember. It was the thought of, holy crap, I tried to yell. You know, we have large dogs. They didn't see them, didn't have any interaction with them. But it was as soon as I saw it, that's it. It was like blackout, like nothing. I just remember waking up the next morning. Woke up. So the house was so old, it kind of shifted a little bit. And so the front door did not open because the house was kind of sitting on it, basically, you know.
Oh, no, yeah.
That door was open the next morning, and the barn roof was caved in. So, and there was like physical evidence of things happening. And my brother has dreams of things, and like he has dreams like him and I in a room with other people, like as kids, like in a green room, like completely naked, trying to get away from aliens. Thankfully, I don't have dreams like that or recall any. Right. But yeah,
so dogs bark, but clearly not.
They did not at all. Yeah, I don't remember seeing any.
How did your mum and dad react to that? The fact that clearly you told them what.
Right. So my brother ended up seeing the same thing. My mother recalls some, you know, similar stuff, but my dad, he's kind of like, oh, I don't remember anything, nothing happened, type of guy.
So how did that? What was the situation with the barn then? How comes that was wrecked? Do you reckon it was just?
My brother said that the UFO landed out by the barn, so I assume it landed on it.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's interesting. So have you thought about having any, or have you had any sort of regression at all to try and find out, or have you not bothered going down that route?
You know, I haven't. My friend McKenna has offered to do that, and it's just something that I'm like, do I want to? Do I really want to know? Type of thing.
Some things are best not. Yeah.
Right.
So there was no little scars left on you, or no sort of chips put in you, or anything like that. There was nothing.
I don't believe so. My mom has a little scar on the back of her neck that she doesn't know where it came from. But other than that, I mean, we have often said something about, you know, it being her alien abduction scar, but we truly don't have any idea if that's what it is or not. But
so tell us about the house. You were saying it's haunted. See, my ears pricked up then.
So my aunt had lived there before we did, and it was one of those things, like the rent was cheap when we, you know, parents were younger, and, you know, it was one of those things. And we'd hear all sorts of stuff at night. We'd hear coughing from the bathroom. We'd hear footsteps in the attic. The crazy part about the attic was the house was so old. If you went into the attic, you'd fall through the roof. I mean, it was people probably shouldn't have been living in the house. It was that old, you know, type of thing. But we would hear what sounded like, you know, hoof prints, like hooves walking in the attic at night. And it was, I mean, which, you know, used to freak us out. If there was anything with hooves up there, it was coming through. And so, but yeah, we saw all sorts of, you know, weird things, and, you know, heard weird things.
An old property, or?
Yeah. It was a very old house. Yeah.
And did you have any previous history on it, or is it just one of those places that your mum and dad, they just rented because?
It was something that I think some, you know, distant family member owned the property that it was on, type of thing. And so it was one of those things that my aunt lived there first, then we lived there, and then I think one of my dad's friends lived there for a while as well. It's no longer there now, but I actually got it tattooed on my arm now with that.
Oh, really?
So yeah.
So were you there for quite a long while as a child, were you? Or did you grow up there, or?
A few years, yeah. So it was, I forget how many years we were there, but yeah, I used to scare the crap out of us. There was, you know, my closet was, my brother's bedroom was next to mine, and our closets met, and we were just scared to death of that closet for some reason. And I don't know if it's just for being a kid or whatnot, but, you know, we talked about it years later that we used to see the same, you know, type of things in it. And it was, you know, don't know if it was childhood imagination or just being scared, or actually, you know, what was there or whatnot. But it was, it was a freaky house to grow up in.
Did you ever see anything in there? Did anything ever, apart from obviously the alien, did anything manifest from the spirit world, as it were?
Not a whole heck of a lot. It was mostly sounds. There was one time I heard something in the attic, and it looked like, you know, lights were out, and I was looking at the ceiling, and it looked like almost like a small, like, bat wing or almost something like that was poking through the ceiling. But other than that, I never actually saw anything.
Well, that's frightening.
I've got a question,
and
it relates to the alien thing. So you saw it that once when you was younger. Have you seen anything again similar, or anything like it, or anything in the sky since?
Yes. I've seen UFOs a few times, things I couldn't, you know, explain what was, type of thing. I've never seen anything land or anything like that after, you know, since then, or experienced what I thought might be an alien in person. In fact, we were up camping out by Mount Adams not too long ago, and we were watching satellites, and just, you know, in the middle of the night, just, you know, everybody's up having a good time, and I saw there was what looked to be a satellite, and I was like, oh no, that's not a satellite. Satellites don't move in that direction, you know. And so we're watching, everybody's like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Then all of a sudden it stopped and shot across the sky. I mean, at a very high rate of speed. I mean, it was not anything that we have capabilities of doing. And so, but there's lots of, the Mount Adams area is very famous for UFO sightings and Bigfoot sightings and all sorts of stuff up there.
So I think that's interesting, because you see a lot of these fighter pilots that have obviously documented it. They've taken footage of them.
Right.
And the government they've all but said, they've actually said, haven't they, that, yeah, these things do exist. We don't really know what they are. We haven't got a handle on them. But as you say, they don't move like there's anything that could be terrestrial.
Right.
But in the last couple of days, I know that they've allowed more documents out, and those documents now are actually describing some of the effects that you could suffer from if you get close to one of these UPA. These are what they call them now. It's not UFO anymore. They call them something else, don't they?
No, I have not heard.
Something. Yeah, it's something like, I think it's a government term.
Is it UDO or something
It might be
unidentified?
something like that. It's something.
I
I'm
don't know.
old school, so it's UFOs as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, so they were talking about that, and they were saying that they were actually saying that they've actually documented a lot of the problems that people suffer with after they've been in contact with these sort of machines or these entities, and
Right.
these, so they more or less said, yeah, this is fact. This is, that's over the last couple of days. Now, obviously, they're releasing more and more as we go, and I don't think it'll be long before they allow full disclosure. What do you reckon on that, Richard?
Well, I know the Pentagon over here just recently acknowledged that UFOs exist, so that they stopped short of saying that they believe that those UFOs are from another planet, but they have at least now said that they exist.
Yeah.
So-
That's definitely a foot in the right direction, I think.
Right.
It's definitely a foot in the right direction.
Like, I mean, could you imagine if the government came out and said, "Hey, we have aliens here," how people would freak out? So,
I think I want them to take me away, to be honest with you. I've had
Right.
enough of the people on this planet.
that's probably more
Viv, have we
truth to
got any
that.
questions for Richard in the chat?
Yes. Chantel said the radiation coming off of them.
Yeah.
But nothing's really come up in the chat just yet. But I got a question, Richard.
Go for it, Viv.
Mhm.
So I'm just stuck on this alien encounter that you had. I keep referring back to it. At the time of you having that, did you get any recurring dreams that you remember? Did you
I
have
did
any
not.
effects of it?
I did not. My brother talks about dreams that he's had, but I have not had any.
Okay,
So
and
is
you've
your
had
brother-
no.
None that I can
Sorry.
remember, anyways. I'm not one that usually remembers a whole lot of my dreams. So, I mean, every once in a while I will, but
That'd be the best way.
So nothing you can compare with each other.
no.
That's
So how has it
interesting.
affected him and his outlook on UFOs and stuff? Has it made him more? I mean, like for us, the experiences of children with ghosts or spirits,
Right.
and it's kind
But-
of it's propelled us into the field that we're in now. And we
Well, when
wondered if that's kind of done the same with your brother.
Yeah, my brother, he is a part of a paranormal group as well. So they do a lot of haunting investigations and stuff, and I think it's Big River Paranormal that he's a part of. They had a booth at the Ghost Conference that you were at, Vivian. I don't know if you saw them over there.
Yes, I won one of their caps in the raffle.
Oh, nice.
And you did well.
But yeah, they do a lot more work with the paranormal stuff than I do. I used to be really involved in it, but with the bounty hunting thing, it's not very often that I get a chance to do paranormal stuff anymore. But I do enjoy going to the events, the ghost conferences
cool.
and things.
So do you think that does he attribute his passion for it now from those early days in that haunted house and the experiences and stuff you had?
Absolutely. In fact, him and I have gone back to the property where the house was, and because whatever was there used to scare the crap out of us as kids. And so the house isn't there anymore. It's just a vacant piece of land. In fact, I think they're getting ready to build a housing complex there. I haven't been over there in a while. That might actually have done that by now. But we went there one night and just took recordings and pictures and things, and we did get some interesting pictures for sure. Like some ecto things that look like weird faces and things. So.
And your dad still wasn't sold on it.
He believes that it was haunted 100%, but my dad, I don't think that he likes to talk about that stuff.
Old
It's
school,
one of
isn't it?
those.
It's very old school, isn't it?
He's very old school. Yes.
Approaching that. Oh, right. Okay. So young William, hi William. I hope you're well. He asks, did your mom have dreams from the experience?
I don't know. I'd have to ask her. I don't think so, but she hasn't mentioned it to me.
And Von asks, Richard, do you remember being touched or anything by the alien?
No. The last thing I remember is seeing it in the doorway.
And that was it. Completely out for the count.
Yeah.
It must have been terrifying.
Yeah, just for like that half a second,
Yeah, but it's enough for you to remember, though.
Right, for sure.
So Chantal says, I think the only reasons aliens will visit us is for the same reasons we will visit a circus. You're probably quite right there, actually.
Well, there's a lot of, I see on the news, and things where there's been UFOs reported where, a lot of times around war. and things.
Yes.
And so I'm wondering if it's there keeping an eye
Yeah.
on us, maybe that we don't destroy things.
Yes.
You know.
There was a situation, Von Hunter says, what have we to offer them? They must be far more yeah, of course, must be far more intelligent than us. Humans kill each other and the land, so I can't think of anything. Yeah, no, I agree. I
Yeah,
think
I
that
agree.
Richard might have hit the nail on the head there. I think it's more of a Guardian thing because they've actually been recorded as shutting down missile silos.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We are probably just their toys. Yeah, probably. Yeah, Von, that's exactly what I'm saying. There you go. So there you go. No way, says Kelly Elliott. So yeah, I'm like you. I think they're probably here as guardians, if rather than anything, to make sure that we don't, pollute
That's
More
what
importantly,
universe.
do you think that they're watching not so much us nowadays, but more than our governments and our military sites? They're very interested because I do believe that there are aliens. I do believe America is hiding a lot. Area 51.
I think we all are.
There's a bunch of rumors about under the Denver, Colorado airport as well. So
I've heard that. Yes.
Mhm.
That's a very odd. I mean, don't get me wrong. Some of the sculptures there are absolutely fantastic, but it's a very odd airport, isn't it?
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but it's. I don't know. I think I found it humorous when the last administration decided to create a space force. I laugh every time I hear space force because I mean, like, really, what are we fighting against? And if whatever I believe it is that's coming here, if they were going to fight us,
you haven't got a chance.
There's nothing we could do to them. I mean, we can. I mean,
I must admit that did cross my mind. I'm thinking, what? Why would we have a space force? What?
I'll join, Dan. I'd join.
I would join, but we'd be blasted out of the sky in 2 seconds. I would think.
No, I think I'd be part of the Bigfoot division. That would be me.
Right. I think we have Space Force just simply for the rest of the world to laugh at us, I suppose. So
all governments, our governments are like that. So
right.
You're not alone there. But yeah, it's an interesting subject. It is, and there does seem to be a lot more coming out.
Richard, have you ever drawn what you saw? With the alien peeking around the door. Have you ever drawn that image, or have you
I can hardly draw a stick figure, so I don't draw at all. So no, I have not drawn anything up.
Maybe you should get somebody to draw it for you, so you've always got that image.
Right. Yeah. Well, when I got my tattoo done, my brother he was a little irritated. He's like, why do you have to get a tattoo of my first anal probe experience? And he laughed about it. But yeah, he's.
So does your brother have any sort of memories and side effects from it, from what he saw?
He has present day? Definitely remembers the same things, same type of things that I do. And, like I said, he had dreams before about it, but other than that, it's
isn't it? I guess of all these weird and wonderful things that the universe has to offer us.
Right.
Yeah.
It's amazing though. It's phenomenal, really, when you think about it.
Yeah. I've always been more into like the, when it comes to the paranormal stuff, into the haunting side of it and things. And
Same as us.
I have friends that want me to go, Bigfoot hunting and things with them, but it's not something I've ever really done. One time there was a Bigfoot sighting about an hour and a half from where I live, and I have a bunch of sound equipment, and so I thought it would be fun to get online and download a bunch of recordings that people claimed were Bigfoot recordings. And so we drove up there and set up the sound equipment alongside the road and plugged it into the car, and we played those sounds, very loud into the woods. And we actually got responses to it, but none of us were brave enough, at dark to actually go and try to, find what was making those sounds.
Do you know what? I often think when I imagine a lot of these investigators out there in the woods banging on trees and making these howls and playing recordings, and just over the bow of the tree, over the bow of the hill, there's another team thinking, well, hang on, what's going on?
Right.
They're playing it back.
They're playing it back. So William's got a question there, Viv, I think.
Yes, I'll put it up.
Thank you. So William asks, do you think they are extraterrestrial or interdimensional? That's a good question, actually.
That's something I never thought of until recently, and I don't have a clue.
No, either way,
You
it'd
know,
be just phenomenal, wouldn't it? Whether it was
there's a
one
lot
or the
of
other.
witnesses coming out of UFOs coming out of the ocean now, and we've explored
There
so
are,
little of the ocean that who
yeah,
knows?
there are. There definitely are. Bigfoot
How do
hunting,
we how do we know that? How do we
probably.
know that they hate banging and playing sounds? We don't know that. Nobody can say for sure.
Right?
I think one sent a letter to William moaning. Sorry, William, I had to. But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, a lot of people now are looking along the lines of these sort of things like ghosts or spirits and things like Bigfoot and have you heard of the dogmen things that are, I say, a recent thing, but I think they've probably been going on for years in America, but it's only come to my knowledge recently. But they were saying a lot of these cryptids and stuff and
Not something I've
ghosts
heard
and
of.
spirits. No, they're all interconnected on some level, which is
Mhm.
probably true, I would guess. But it is an interesting subject. Now, you were also saying that not that where you live, not far from you, has got the world's most recorded, or it's got the most sightings of Bigfoot anywhere in the world.
Right. Yeah, by Mount St.
Is that
Helens
right?
and Mount
So
Adams. So,
that's
yeah,
amazing.
Mount St. Helens is not very far from us at all, and that's where a lot of
I've got
sightings are.
I've got a
Amazing.
question. So when you're looking for fugitives around that area,
Mhm.
because that area is so vast, have your fugitives ever run into those woods and forests and claimed to you when you've arrested them or whatever, I've seen a Bigfoot? Have any of them ever actually
Uh,
said anything like that to you? Or
no, we did. There was a time where we found a guy out, that we had been looking for out in these cabins out in in the woods, and he was telling us how he was afraid because we were told that he's got guns and things like that. And so when we arrested him, we came in, really quick and fast, and he was telling us that he didn't have a gun because he had heard that we knew that he had one, and he was afraid. But he was no longer hiding out in the woods from us because he'd come across a cougar and he didn't have anyone to
That'd do
protect
it.
himself. And so he was like, "Screw that! I'm leaving the woods." And I'm like, "Well, that's
Especially without a
wonderful."
gun.
Right. Those are the woods we've been out, hanging out in the last few nights. We never saw it, but thankfully.
It's
So
interesting. I saw a thing recently on I think it was a documentary or something. I can't remember what it was, a news program, but it was about a guy that was a fugitive that actually he laid low in the woods for about 3 years, and he built himself a little log cabin out there,
mhm.
and it was just amazing. He carved himself out of life there, but obviously they caught up with him, and got him
Right.
back into custody. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing what lengths people go to escape justice, I guess. And you
Yeah,
must
it
do
truly.
that more than anybody.
Oh, it truly is. It,
Yeah, I
it,
can
it truly
imagine.
is.
Unbelievable.
so Richard, have you ever been in a situation where somebody has pointed a gun at you that you was after and actually meant to use it? And how did it feel, and how did you get out of that situation?
Um, I've never had anybody point the gun at us. We've definitely had people pick up guns and grab guns, things like that. Thank God that these people have listened to our commands of put the gun down type of thing. Thankfully, I have not had to make that choice on how to handle that so far. It's I had a 19-year-old kid pull a gun one day, and it was one of those things that I drew my gun as quickly as I possibly could and told him to drop it, and he
Wow.
did, thankfully. And it turned out
Wow.
his gun was not even loaded. And so I was like, "You
Thank God
almost
for that.
died over, you almost died over an empty gun, And he told me I wasn't man enough to shoot him. So,
Wow,
hey,
really?
yeah.
Well, it's lucky for him that you
Right.
didn't.
And that's what I
But
told him.
yeah,
I was like,
William.
why would I want to live the rest of my life that I just killed a 19-year-old with an empty gun?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
So, but
But
yeah, I
William's
mean,
right about the bad guys in the woods that are what scare me being in the. Yeah, I'm the same as you, William. It's the people in the woods that frighten me.
So
right.
I got another question. So when I was over in Oregon with William in, I think it was November, there was
Mhm.
an incident on one of the freeways where they had to shut the freeways. There was a guy on the rampage. He'd stolen cars and shot somebody, and a police
Oh yeah, that
officer.
was actually December, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah, and the police officer killed him. And
Hmm.
then the next day, on the news, they were naming this police officer, and I was saying to William, well, he's done everybody a favour. Why did they need to name him because he was just doing his job?
Right.
Would they do the same thing to, let's say, a bail bondsman? If
I'm sure they would. In fact, just a couple of days ago, they released some camera footage of that shooting on the news, and the only thing they showed on the news was a cop next to a car that was moving, and then all of a sudden it just shows, the windows are tinted. It just shows the cop shooting out the window and shooting the person. They didn't show anything before that.
No,
right.
And to me, that's the news causing a little bit of issues, because what that's going to, when I first, because a friend of mine sent me that video, and when I first saw it, I went, holy crap, the cops just murdered that guy.
We didn't,
because they didn't show what had happened directly before that happened. And then once I found out what incident was from, I knew that, oh, hey, he had shot at people. He was holding somebody hostage with a gun type of thing. Yeah. And so yeah, I mean, that's, that was a good shoot, but you'd never know it.
So why, what would you get from, please, we're a little bit ignorant here in the UK, because in the UK, they would never release the police officer's name because he was doing a job.
Right.
So what purpose does it serve if that police officer or the bail bondsman or whoever it was had shot this guy? What purpose does it serve to name him?
Maybe for accountability reasons, I guess. I personally don't think it's useful myself, but that's the way it is. Because unfortunately, over here we've had situations where cops have sometimes believed that they could do what they want to do and how they want to do it, and they've killed people they shouldn't have.
Wow.
And and it's a tough situation. I wouldn't want to be a cop because of the things that they have to deal with. And people don't understand that these guys have half a second to make a decision sometimes. But
then surely it's common sense. I mean, that guy, and I'm going to mention his name. That I'm not going to call him that guy. I'm going to call him that pig, that animal, Chauvin, that did that thing to George Floyd.
Right.
People were screaming and shouting him to get off his neck. That was ridiculous, uncalled for, and that was premeditated murder. I'm sorry, but it was.
Absolutely. And he was found guilty, thankfully.
And not all cops are like that. There are some very, very good cops.
There are.
And bounty hunters. Leyland, for one. I've got to bring him in.
You like him?
I do like a bit of Leyland, but he's put on a bit of weight. But anyway, or Leland, you pronounce it, don't you?
Right.
There's some really good guys out there.
I saw the worst one ever once. I wish I'd never seen it, and it must have happened recently. I guess within the last few years, it was these cops, and they were they'd gone into I guess it was I don't know if it's a hotel or it was like a foyer. We were on a landing, and there was something going on in this room, and they drew their guns and they called the people out. And there was a young kid, I think he was about 18 or 19, only young, and he came out and he was terrified. I mean, terrified. And the cop kept shouting at him and screaming at him, "Put your hands on your head," and he did. But he was getting confused because he was so frightened. He was just getting confused and frustrated and flustered. And so anyway, eventually he puts his hands on his head and the cop screams, "Get on the floor, get on the floor, get on the floor." And then he said, "Put your hands out, put your legs out where I can see them." And the kid just slightly moved and he just put about 4 rounds into him.
Was that the one where they're in the hotel?
The hotel.
Yeah, I saw that video.
It was heartbreaking. It was cold-blooded murder.
Well,
what way you cut that was cut that kid. I don't even have the kid didn't even have a gun.
No. Here's the thing, though, that these incidents with the police aren't anything new. It's just everybody has cameras these days, and so the cops. I mean, I've worked with a lot of really amazing cops, and I've worked with some cops where I'm like, they should never do this job ever, and they're a big gang. They truly are. When one cop does something bad, even though you might have a good cop next to him, that good cop's never going to tell on his buddy.
No.
And, and that's.
So I've got a question now, and it relates to the ghost hunting side and a bit with the cop thing and the bail bondsman thing. So when this bad incident has happened, we believe energy blasts into the frame or the ether or into the fabric of the building. Have you ever been back or found yourself in a situation where you've been ghost hunting? Somebody said, oh yeah, years ago this cop shot somebody in this hallway and it's supposed to be haunted. Have you ever found yourself going back somewhere thinking, I recognise this place, or this was on the news, or do you know what I mean? Or could this really be real? Or have you ever had that situation yet?
No, I don't believe so. I don't believe we
Not yet.
No. Yeah, I'm sure it will happen at some point. So,
well, let's hope it doesn't. Let's hope you're safe.
Right. Yeah.
I've got another question. Have you investigated a jail? The fact that you're a bail bondsman going into a jail or an old lockup, have you? And if you have been, has the fact that your job that you do had more of an impact on the investigation itself because of what you do every day?
I went to Alcatraz. Alcatraz, there's too many people to really do an investigation, but that was well before I was into the bail industry. But since then, I haven't gone into a jail. My brother's paranormal group, they do a prison over in Idaho, which I think would be fun to probably go see one of these days. But it's not something I've gone over when they do public investigations over there.
That'd be a good experiment for you to do, wouldn't it?
It would. I try to stay out of the jails as much as possible. There are some jails that we go to the front door and they take them from us, and there are some jails where we actually have to go in, to book people in. But I don't like going in just because, the energy is not great. And that's why I don't understand.
William should take you to the jail for a ghost hunt somewhere sometime. You should go and do it and see what happens.
So what did William say? We had major corruption in Portland till the 70s. Things like gambling and brothels, paying cops. Yeah, we had that here, and we had that here in the 70s.
Oh yeah, we have the Shanghai tunnels in Portland.
Yeah,
I think Viv went down. Didn't you? Viv, you did tour of those, didn't you?
Yeah, I went down with William and Rocky, and myself and Rocky were the naughty children at the back of the tour, if you like.
The funny thing is, I've never been to the Shanghai tunnels. It's one of the most famous haunted places. It's close to me, and I've never gone. Only because I'm not a big fan of going to haunted places with large groups of people.
Yeah.
If someone said, "Hey, you want to bring a few friends down and investigate?" Heck yeah, but do you want to bring a few friends and 25 other people you've met that are probably all half drunk?
Defeats the object. Yeah, then you end up with idiots. And we've exactly.
I think they're doing is it Gully's butcher's shop, the tunnels underneath that now. That the owner and her husband, William will tell me, I think they still run and own that shop. That's a husband and wife, William will know. But maybe you could speak to them and maybe do a private thing down there.
Yeah, it might be something. I know that they get, people reach out to them, all sorts of different, groups reach out. So I think at some point they probably get tired of hearing it.
No, I wasn't. Nice. No, we suffered the side effects of the opium den, myself and Rocky. There's a story behind that. I wasn't taking opium.
You'd probably be all right because I think it's probably legal out there, isn't it? It's probably legal in Portland.
It is now.
Yeah, it is now.
It wasn't then, yeah.
Yeah,
it was funny.
It's I can imagine. Sounds good. So, are there any more questions there, Viv? Please.
William just says he's explored a few dungeons for ghosts. So, what have you done, Richard? I mean, when you've been ghost hunting, what sort of places have you?
I took a trip over to Germany several years ago. We went into some of the concentration camps. We went to some of the smaller ones where they're, it's less of a tourist destination. A lot of them are these days. They've turned them into museums.
Yeah.
But we went to one it's in Flossenburg, Germany. and we were the only people there for most of the time that we were there, and so it was kind of it's overwhelming, really.
Yeah.
Imagine.
You know,
Harrowing.
it's one of those things like you hear about it, but it's not real until you go there and see, a 30-foot tall pyramid of ashes, of people's ashes, and you realize, this is real, and the energy in those places is it's terrible. A couple of friends of mine that were with me, we went to Dachau, and by the time we left there, we hated each other. The energy was just so bad. I mean, it took us a while. I mean, I was home from Germany not speaking to them still, like it was one of those things, like took us a while to realize that, hey, neither one of us actually did anything to the other one. It was just the energy is so bad there.
I was going to say, I bet you found no foundation for that either at the end, did you? I bet it was just what the hell went on there.
Right. We in Flossenburg, we had the opportunity they had different rooms and things you could go into, and you can actually shut the door. And what was really weird about there is when you shut the door, you could hear footsteps, and it sounded almost like on a wood floor, even though that they had redone it and it was concrete. But it was like you could hear footsteps, almost like it sounded like maybe a soldier walking back and forth, And as soon as you open the door, they were gone.
Nothing.
And we did run into a guy there that was a prisoner there at one point in his life, and he heard us speaking English, came over and asked if we were American, and he was so excited to see that we were there, and he walked us around and showed us because the Americans actually saved him. They showed up and saved his life, and so it was a huge deal for him to tell his story and hearing this is what happened here and this is what happened there. He was just a child when he was there, and his parents were taken to Auschwitz, and he never saw them again.
Wow.
But it definitely makes it real. We didn't get a whole lot as far as like pictures or EVP recordings, things like that. I just think that the energy is so much, it's so hard to decipher anything through. We did get one EVP. It was in English, which I thought was quite weird being over there. But it said we're not dead. And I forget the question that was asked, but it did say clear as day, we're not dead. And that was actually taken next to the crematorium, next to one of the ovens where they burn the bodies. So
it's such a shame. It really is.
It's
something we should never ever forget what happened.
No.
Just so we can grow from that and move forward. But it seems like we don't, though, do we? It seems like we make the same mistakes over and over and over again.
Parts of the world, they're still doing things like that, aren't they?
They are. They absolutely are, and they're keeping it under wraps too.
Yeah, we learn nothing, unfortunately, as a species.
Well, are there any more questions in the chat? Because we've got 5 minutes before the end of the show. So if you want to get a question in quick to Richard, now is the time to do it, guys.
They're all quiet out there, Viv.
I know. We've blown them away, haven't we, Dan?
They're all, it feels like nothing. Yeah, no, you're right, Ron. It feels like nothing has changed. Yeah, we've not learned from the past, have we? That's, we should do, but we never do, unfortunately. Well, certain aspects of the human race don't.
Well, now it's not, we have different parts of this country where it's, they're making it, trying to make it illegal to teach, critical race theory, but they can't even tell you what critical race theory even is. So, but they sure as hell don't want it in schools. So, but they can't tell you why, So it's.
Can I just say, Richard, that picture behind you is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it was one of my wife's friends gave it to her. So.
It's beautiful.
It is lovely. It is lovely.
And Dan's cushion looks rather comfortable there. So I'll mention that as well.
My cushion, it is comfortable, yes.
Yeah.
It's not haunted though, unfortunately, so I can't talk about it.
I don't know. I've had things going off in here today. Anyway, that's another story.
Yeah, unfortunately, I get to go into the office for the rest of the day. So.
Are you working today then? What time is it where you are?
It is almost 1:00 in the afternoon. So.
And you've got to go into work after this?
Yeah, so today I work in the bail bonds office, so I will be working at getting people out of jail today and not putting them back in unless I get a call, But, it's always the days that I don't think that I'm going to go out that, I end up going out. So it's,
I think you should have.
Yeah.
I think you should have a bring a friend to work day and let me and Dan come out to work with you one day
You
just to
wouldn't
see
want
what
me
you
anywhere
do.
near. You wouldn't want me anywhere near guns.
right,
No, just stand back and watch.
right.
In fact, the police over here have said I can't even have a catapult. I'm that dangerous.
Yeah, the sad thing is, I have guns. I carry guns for work, this and that. But there are more guns in the United States than there are people.
Yes,
That's
yes,
ridiculous.
millions of billions.
And there's a lot of, there's a lot of people that shouldn't have them. But I also, a lot of people think that we have them to protect ourselves from our government, but we see the kind of weapons that the government has. So,
yeah. Yes, it does. It does, Von. It does seem to be. It is. Oh, right. Okay. So there's a question. Brilliant. Thank you, Von. So, Richard, you said you would all stick by your colleagues in a group. How would that make you feel knowing they have done wrong?
So I mentioned that the police do that. If somebody I'm working with breaks the law, that's on them.
Yeah.
That my conscience isn't gonna suffer over calling somebody out for breaking the law, because that's not how we work.
No.
We follow the law. If somebody breaks that law, that's completely on them. So I'm not going to cover for anybody. If they do their job, I'm going to be there for them 100%. They break the law, they know.
Yeah,
they know better. We train enough. We educate ourselves enough. We know what the law is. We know what we can and can't do. Are there people in our profession that go out and walk that line? Absolutely. Our laws are different than the police are. Like the police need a warrant to go into buildings and things like that. I need reasonable suspicion.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so if I have reasonable suspicion that my person is in there, then we can go in. Now, I never want to explain to a jury what reasonable suspicion is, so I make damn sure I know, or I can articulate why I believe the person was in there very well, because I'm not going to end up in court. I'm not, it's not going to happen. And we carry body cameras as well, so everything gets recorded. I've got some fun videos as well.
Dan, I think we should practice. I'm going to hog tie Andy with cable ties. You should do it to Hazel.
She would kill me.
You want to hear something hilarious? I actually carry pink handcuffs. So when I arrest people, I put them in pink handcuffs, and that tends to irritate guys sometimes. The women like it, but the guys.
Isn't there a prison over there that puts them in pink? Uniform.
Yes, actually, I think it's in Texas or Arizona, something like that. There's a prison where they all wear pink.
Pink, so. Yeah. I saw that on TV. That was quite interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, that's brilliant. Oh, right, we're rounding up now.
Yeah.
Richard, thank you, sir. Thank you ever so much for coming on. It's been wonderful talking to you and fantastic to learn more about your trade, as it were. And thank you so much.
I had a great time.
I echo what Von says. We have total amount of respect for you and thank you for what you do. I know that you're not here in the UK, that you do it over in America, but we appreciate that you keep it, help to keep the streets safe. So,
for sure. And one of these days I want to get over there and check you guys out over there.
Oh, yeah, more than welcome. We'll catch up with you when you get over here. We'll take you around some places.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And next week, guys, we are on Things Network. Stay where you are, Richard. Don't go away. Mm-hmm. We are on Things Network next Tuesday at 7:00, where Dan and I and Jamie will be talking about the Bogeyman. And next Wednesday on Simply Spooky, we have the fantastic Crystal Lady herself, Kerry Greenaway, popping in to have a chat. So, hope we can see you again on one or both of those shows. Big thanks again to Richard and to everybody in the chat. Thank you for tuning in. We couldn't do this without your love and support and your help. Thank you to everyone, and we'll see you next week.
Take it easy, guys.